In this section, we'll be looking at duplicate removal and suppression files. From the address management section, we're going to select priority duplicate extraction. What I want to do here is set what I want to use for my duplicate extraction. So because I had mapped in my first name and last name fields on my select address field, I'm going to select that along with my address line and address too. Province and postal code are selected, but city is not. And this is a good idea not to select it because if I have two people living at the same address but the city is different, example, I have one person, let's say John Smith, living at the address in Toronto, and the same John Smith living at the same address, but it says North York. Because of the amalgamation years ago with Toronto, a lot of people still use their alternate city name. So if one says Toronto and one says North York, they won't be selected as a duplicate if I have the percent match at 100%. I always like to set the criteria at 100% match at first. Later on, if you want to go ahead and lower that, you can. The partial names here, what this means in here is if the partial names option is selected, it'll treat John Doe and Jane Doe as a duplicate because Doe is in both name fields if the address is the same. However, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to deselect it. The same with rural addresses, because you could have two different people in an RR number, whatever, in the small town. So I'm going to ignore that as well. If you want to say blank and non-blank names are not duplicates, you can select that option. I'm not going to. And this one here, it says blank names are not duplicate, and it'll treat John Doe and blank as not duplicates. So what I want to do here is if I have any common records or my suppression list, I'm going to go ahead and select that kill file. It's highlighted, the third one here, and I'll press select on that. I also want to go ahead and set the priority. Currently, my priority is set at length of the first name. If I want to adjust that and choose a file order and say I want that demo merge list to be my priority file, I can do that. I'm going to set it back to my main file. Setting a file order is handy if you've got your own customer list and then you have a rented list. You would always want your own customer list to be the priority list. I could say whether it's correct or valid. I would always want to say valid over corrected. And if you have sequential, this is if you have something like maybe a column for donations. If you do, you can select the donation column, like in mine, and you can select ascending or descending depending on maybe the amount that one person has donated versus another person. So if you have two records in the same household, John Smith and Jane Smith, and Jane has donated more than John, then you would select the appropriate option here. If I say length of the first name, if I have J. Smith, John Smith, and Jonathan Smith, it would select Jonathan because there's more characters in the length of the name than J or John. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to select length of the first name. So I've already selected my kill file, as we can see. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to process my list. It will process the kill file and select any records, actually remove any records that are on the kill file and maybe my one main list or the other list. So I will go ahead and look at those records. So I have 120 duplicates, but 120 records with duplicates and 141 duplicates. Common records, I have 100. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract my common records. You can view them if you like, you can export them, you can print a report. I'll go ahead and subtract those. So yes, I'm going to proceed. Do I want to export a common record? Sure, why not? I can export the common and the original. Go ahead and choose your export type. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and do this and export the database. Name your database and do all that. If I want to print a common records report, you can go ahead and do that. I'm not going to for this video. So now I have no longer any common records. However, I do have records with duplicates, and I have 41 duplicates. Let's go ahead and view those duplicates. When I look at the duplicates, I can see here that the first record we're going to keep. There's no tick to say to remove it. So the first record here shows Emily at this address. So the software is keeping the first record and removing the subsequent 2 records. If you have a record that you don't want to remove, like for instance, there's a company in here and maybe the company wants both copies of maybe the annual report sent to their clients. So you can go ahead if you want and you can remove those duplicates. So if I highlight it, I hold the control key down, highlight that, and I want to go ahead and remove it, I can do that as well. So if I want to deflag anything, that simply removes it out of there. If I want to go ahead and shut this down, shut all the duplicates, that's great. I can go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to export all those duplicates. First of all, I will delete them. And I'm about to delete 40 records. Yes, go ahead because I had deflagged that first one. And then do I want to export? Yes, I want to go ahead and export. So you can export again in the original order, add any other fields that you want in there, any correction, status and comment, whatever you need to do. And then you can go ahead and export the database. So if I want to export, I can call it my dupes and save that off. So save that database. If I want to export the duplicate and the original, I can go ahead and do that too. Now it's exported. If I want to print a report, I can. I don't want to for this purpose. So now I can go ahead and maybe I want to take away the first name and only check for duplicates on the last name. So if I do that, I can rerun the duplicates again. So I'm going to process that and I'll probably see if I have any people. No, I still have duplicates. So when I view those results, I'm going to see that I have Deborah Ann and Andrew at that same address. Maybe I'm doing a mailer that would be more suitable to the males. So in that case, I'm going to deflag that duplicate and I will select Deborah Ann. So if I deflag that, or if I say set to keep, I can click set to keep. And if I do that, if I highlight Andrew and I click set to keep, Andrew will be the record to be kept and Deborah Ann will be removed. I can go on and continue down if I need to. So if I highlight Alan and say set to keep, Alan will be kept and Marie will be removed. So you can go ahead and continue on managing your duplicates, and when you close down, you'll be able to, if you want to remove those secondary duplicates based on name, you can go ahead and do that. Once I'm done managing all my duplicates, I can simply go ahead, close that out, and then I can go on to the next task after you've exported them.